Hey, welcome back to our podcast, your go-to source for all things real estate and lifestyle in the heart of Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Jackson Christian Berry.
And I'm Jean Kristen Berry.
And together we're here to guide you through the vibrant world of Fort Worth and surrounding suburb living.
We believe in creating a community where everyone feels at home. And that's why we're committed to bringing you honest, expert advice in a fun and friendly way. From the bustling streets of downtown to the serene suburbs, we've got the scoop on what makes each area unique.
Each week we'll dive into the latest market trends, offer tips for both buyers and sellers, and share insider knowledge to help you make informed decisions. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about some of the Fort Worth charming neighborhoods, you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode.
Hi, welcome back to our podcast, Welcome Home Fort Worth. And we are here today with Shane Farrell. So Shane is with us. He's going to talk to us today about insurance, auto, homeowners, and also life.
Everyone's favorite subject.
Okay, That's everybody's favorite subject, especially right now. Things have been changing.
Yes,
in the
for real.
Real estate
Which is
world.
why we really wanted to have you on today, man. So appreciate
great.
you coming.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yes, we want to dive into the details and hear about you. But I want to start off with what is your story, if you want to share about that?
Yeah, you bet. So I'm local from the area. Went to Arlington schools, Arlington High Schools,
Nice.
Lamar graduate.
Okay,
Stayed local. Went to Texas Wesleyan University and started working at UPS on the docks, working my way
Really?
through college. Like,
Cool.
a lot of people do. And,
Yeah.
And so I did that and was looking to do something else because I was tired of working nights.
Yeah.
And I'd gotten married and needed a real career.
That's right. As it goes.
So my father-in-law was a farmer's agent, and working on the docks at UPS in the summer times, I would do other jobs and did a lot of sales jobs and enjoyed it.
Cool.
And so I spoke with him about insurance, and he said, "I think it's great, but do not become an agent for a captive carrier like Farmers or State Farm.
Interesting. Okay.
Because you don't have any options for your client.
Sure.
If they raise the rates, it's just
What you gotta do.
You're
gotta
stuck,
do.
yeah.
You're stuck
Yeah.
selling their products and their.
Yeah.
And so I started as an independent agent from scratch.
Cool.
Very cool.
Day one.
Is that hard to
And,
do?
Very hard to do.
Yeah, I would think
Yeah.
like farmers or those kind of companies would give you kind of the onboarding
package.
process. I would
They do.
guess.
So
yeah.
very limited on the carriers I could contract with.
Yeah.
And you're a straight commission salesperson.
Yeah.
And so if I had not you had UPS at night,
Yeah, you
I
could have
wouldn't have
made
been
it.
able
Yeah.
to do it. So I was able to work 2 jobs, and my wife was working part time with a couple kids, and
Yeah.
and it didn't just. The longer I stayed in it, the more my business built, and so I'm 25 years in the industry.
Let's
now.
go.
And,
Wow.
Congrats.
and thank you very much.
a big
Yeah,
deal.
that's a
Been
big deal.
independent, and I've got a son that's halfway through college and hopes to come in the business.
Uh-oh.
And,
There you go.
Hopefully this will be generational, and he'll do things that I never dreamt of doing.
And he'll start a
So,
podcast and make
That's
it.
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. And y'all
yeah.
can do it together and sell insurance together and all
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
Well, that's cool. We always like to know what's going on with people behind the
Sure,
scenes.
sure.
So we
Yep.
appreciate you sharing that. So, would you give us a broad view of the insurance landscape? Could just share a little information about the industry,
Sure.
especially around here.
Yeah. So when I first got in the business, it was a good opportunity for me because there was a mold crisis going on in Texas.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah,
And
that's right.
there was a big mold thing. All the other states used insurance form, an ISO form, insurance standardized form. And Texas did not. They wrote their own policies. Because, we're Texas.
We do
better
our own
than
thing.
everybody.
We
That's
do our
right.
own. That's right.
So they had an HOA policy and an HOB policy.
Okay.
And where the standardized forms that we will pay for water damage,
Okay.
we will pay for anything coming from water damage.
Oh.
Well, then you start hearing about mold, right?
Yeah.
And then a couple of attorneys took it to court and won $1 million,
Wow.
multi-million dollar settlement.
Wow.
And the next thing you know, all the companies quit writing policies in Texas.
Wow.
Well, so when I got in the business,
Just completely like no policies in Texas.
not going to write anything new.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I got in with some independent companies who were writing the standardized forms and didn't include the mold. So I was able to grow pretty quickly in the
Yeah,
beginning.
sure.
Yeah.
And but what I've seen currently in the industry makes mold look like
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Really?
I've got a friend of mine who's a 50-year agent.
Okay.
He's
50 years.
82 years old. He's a
Oh my
nurse.
gosh. Still in the business?
Still in the business.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And I've
Wow.
asked him, and he says he's never seen anything like this before.
Oh, is that different?
So it's just
Wow.
crazy what is, and we'll get into some
Yeah.
reasons why.
Yeah, yeah. Which again,
what's going on?
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it all
You
here at the
tease it.
beginning of the
You tease it.
podcast. I'm teasing, and
Gonna tease it a little bit.
we'll get to that as we go on.
That's
So
amazing.
I got to
That's
save some material.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
That's really
That's right.
cool.
Yeah.
So, what's contributing to the rise in insurance
There's
rates?
probably 3 things really.
Okay.
The frequency of storms.
Okay.
So I wrote a few
Yep.
stats down, and from 2000 to 2009, so for that 10-year period, we averaged 2.5 major weather events in the state of Texas.
A year.
A year?
A year.
Oh, wow.
2.5 a year.
Wow.
Right? And then from 2010 to 17, that went from 2.9 to 6.2 per year.
That's
Oh,
huge.
gosh.
Oh my gosh.
And then now we go from 2018 to 2022, and we're currently averaging over nine huge weather
In only a
events per
4-year period.
In a 4-year period.
Compared to my gosh.
So
That's
amazing.
insane.
I'm not going to get into is it
Yeah.
global
Yeah,
warming.
yeah,
We're not going to do politics,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but something there's more weather.
but you know when you
Wow.
talk to my kids about what you study in college,
Yeah.
you talk about statistics.
Yeah.
You talk about you can't lie, but you can't argue with statistics,
Yeah.
right? They are what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
it's the frequency of storms.
Wow.
We're talking hurricanes, which,
Yeah.
you know, in Texas, obviously, we
Yeah,
get some
we
of
do.
those.
We do.
And then you get a storm like in 2017, Harvey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that came in. Remember
Oh
that?
man, yeah.
Those-
And then it didn't go anywhere, it just sat.
Yep.
And it rained for 7, 10 days,
flooding.
Yep.
flooded everywhere. Major event,
Yeah.
billions of dollars in damage.
Yep.
And then you got the winter freeze that happened a couple
Yeah.
years ago, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And that's something that insurance companies don't really plan for.
Because you can't.
A freeze, like that's never
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Why would that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
In
not even
Texas.
that's not even something they put in the actuarial tables, but yet it happened.
Yeah.
And then we are the number one state in the country for for tornadoes and hail.
Tornadoes.
We're the number
too.
one though.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
More than Oklahoma.
So we're the trifecta. I mean,
Wow.
we get everything. So and we're number 3 in the country on wildfires, and with droughts we've
Really?
had the last few
Yeah,
years.
he
and all
told
the-
me that just a little earlier, and I was
Yeah.
like, that was
Oh
shocking.
my gosh.
Yeah, I started talking to him off camera. I'm
Yeah.
like, I got to save this.
I'm not surprised by that. Yeah.
Number 3 in the country for
Yeah.
wildfires.
Oh my gosh.
So it's the storm frequency that's really hurting.
Yeah.
And then the average claim costs, everybody's dealing with inflation, right? From
Yeah.
groceries
Yep.
to,
Right.
you go to Home Depot, you talk to a building contractor about building something in your backyard, and you get these prices, and the price of wood's up, the price of everything is up. And so when they go to repair a home, you know, the cost of shingles. I know you had a roofer on a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
And the price of roofs is tripled.
Yep.
And I have a new truck, or I say a new truck, it's 4 years old, right? For me, that's pretty new.
Yeah, right.
But my dealer called me a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
and said, hey, it's looking about that time. You need to maybe look to trade. And my truck, same make, same model, that I paid $42,000 for back in 2019.
Okay.
The new one is $74,000.
Jeez.
Really?
So just the price of vehicles has gone up, and it's the price of parts. You know,
Sure.
Yeah.
and again, it's everything. We had the auto strike, right?
Right.
Okay.
And the strike caused all the supply companies to also go on strike. And so now you can't find parts. And if you do find parts, the
They're
prices
expensive.
is
Yeah,
up.
crazy.
And so it's not one thing, it's just kind of everything across the industry.
Yeah.
And that's really caused
Wow.
the issue to even get exacerbated.
It's almost like a trickle down from everything else.
It really
That's
is.
really
Right.
been going up. And
That's
up and
correct.
up.
Yeah. With COVID and
Yeah.
shutdowns,
Yep.
and parts come from China, and they shut down with COVID,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
to getting those parts over here, and just caused prices to go, through the roof. And
Oh, sure.
labor cost.
Yep.
Yes.
They just took a big
Yeah.
rate increase on.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's
I
kind
saw that,
of we're
yeah.
seeing that trickle down already
Yeah.
right now, because you got people interviewing for jobs,
Yep.
and now with these higher numbers, you're having to pay more.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of trickled down.
Man.
So those are the main
Yeah.
reasons. It's the storm frequency, the cost of claims. Those are probably the two big ones that
Wow.
we're seeing that's causing the rates to
Wow.
skyrocket.
Do you have like an average percent that you would say that things have gone
Well,
up?
it's funny you asked that.
Yeah, you happen to have that? Yeah.
I wrote that down. So in Texas, the average in Texas last year was a 27% increase.
Wow.
And again, that's a statewide average.
Okay.
So some areas see higher than that,
Okay.
and some less than that. So like if you're in a rural area, you're out in the country, you're in West Texas, you're in Southwest Texas, they get a lot less than that because they don't have the storms
Got it.
that we get.
Got it.
The 4-county metroplex, Dallas, Tarrant, Denton, and Collin County,
Yeah.
along with the coastal, saw the biggest.
Wow.
So it's 27% statewide, but in this area, it's even more.
Wow.
So it's not, when y'all call me and ask me to be on this podcast, talk about insurance, I'm like, well, I talk about this every day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is kind of,
Yeah, it's what
I
you
come
do.
in the morning and I have 4 emails,
Yep.
and then I get, 5 other calls during
Yep.
the day, and
Yep.
it's kind of,
It's this.
I almost want to record this and just send it to people.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
like,
Hey,
this will explain.
hey, we'll
if you
appreciate-
have questions after, then
right.
come and talk to me.
Yep.
That's right.
That's
we
an
appreciate the
appointment.
share.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
that's
That's right. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, that's right.
Share it up. Share it up. We like that.
So anyway, 27% last year,
Okay.
but the last 2 years since COVID,
Yeah.
since the inflation has hit,
Yeah.
it's been a 46% rate
Oh,
increase.
wow.
So people are saying 46%
Whoa.
more than they were back when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You remember when COVID also, people weren't driving,
Yeah,
and the
sure.
insurance carriers were sending refund checks back to people,
Uh-huh.
and they
Yeah.
kind of statistically went down on the numbers.
Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden everybody's driving again,
Yeah.
and then the part shortage.
Yeah.
And of course, all vehicles now have all these safety features, which are great. We love them.
Right.
It's got the sensors, it's got everything. But when you have an accident in a vehicle, it costs so much more to repair a vehicle now.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you
More
get your
parts.
windshield knocked out.
Yep.
Used to you just put a $250 deductible windshield in there.
Yeah.
Well, now it's got to be calibrated. The lane sensor that keeps you in the lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When your
that's
car
only
starts
going
to
up.
brake because you get
Yeah,
short.
sure. Yeah.
All those things have to be recalibrated and redone.
Yeah.
Usually if you had a little front end, maybe you pay it out of pocket.
Yeah.
And you just go down to, again, I'm aging myself, cheap auto parts. But you go down to buy a bulb, right? And so now you go into the auto parts store and like, my headlight's out.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
say, well, these are LED and it's an entire assembly.
Yeah.
And so then you call
Yeah.
your dealer and the whole light, blinker, running light is all one unit.
Yeah.
And it's $3,500 plus the labor to put it in. So those little small claims
Yeah.
we used to pay out of pocket,
Yeah.
now people are kind of turning those in.
Oh, yeah.
So
Man.
It's gonna be
we're
big.
seeing.
That's a problem.
So it's
Yeah.
there's no one
No, one thing.
issue. It's
Yeah.
just the kind of the perfect storm.
Yeah, it sounds like
is
it.
what we're seeing.
And
So,
since 2019 is when this really started coming.
well, for sure when COVID hit,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
2020 hit,
Yeah.
but
But the weather's going to cause it no
before
matter
that,
what.
yeah.
Like
the
whether
weather-
COVID or not.
the amount of claims we had has
Yeah.
gone through the roof. But
Yeah.
like I said, just the claim pricing
Yeah.
has gone up 30% just on the average claim
Yeah.
on what it costs to fix something.
Amazing.
So it really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So there's not, like I said, there's not just one thing. It's kind of the perfect
That's a lot.
storm.
So it's a good time to have a
Talked
good
about
insurance
life
agent.
earlier. Talk about life insurance earlier. How many
Yeah.
deaths did we have during COVID? Because statistically,
Yeah.
that wasn't in the averages, so that's caused that
Sure.
industry to suffer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you get big companies like your State Farm and your farmers, and a lot of times they invest your premiums for a couple years,
Sure.
but investments we've seen drop.
Yeah.
So they're losing on the investment side, losing on the life insurance side,
Right.
losing on the claim side. So it's kind of
Man.
the perfect.
Yeah.
So one thing we've got going on for us is some other states have it worse. So farmers just completely pulled out of Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Which is like
They have
insane.
they
Yeah.
have like 1 in 4 or 5 homes insured.
Yeah.
And so they're non-renewing all their homes.
Wow.
So it's put a huge burden on the other carriers that are still left in the state.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're seeing is that they've got a couple new carriers in that
Mm-hmm.
are offering automatic policies to those farmers' policies. But I was watching some podcasts last week.
Yeah, he's prepping. He's prepping.
for
Prepping,
this.
that's right. Prepping for-
And there are clients that were paying $4,000 last year for their home insurance.
Yeah.
Their renewals came in at $16,000.
16.
16. And so
Whoa.
you're going to make your home insurance or if
My.
your escrow, that's
Yeah,
a
your escrow.
$900 escrow
Oh, yeah.
increase
People
on
can't
your.
afford that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're seeing is maybe some downsizing. So
Yeah.
I'm talking my parents into that because what their home cost projected were
With-
versus what they are now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is
Yep.
just kind of
Yep.
through the roof.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
I think that's a great note because I think a lot of times people think so much about interest rates right now. Like
Right.
We're
Right.
only talking about interest rates
Yeah.
with mortgage payments.
Right.
And it's like y'all, if you're doing an escrow, you've got your interest, you've got your
Taxes.
principal,
Taxes
you
and
know,
your
taxes and your
insurance, yeah.
insurance,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And so this is a huge part of this. These
That's
are
right.
going up. Like,
That's right.
glad you got that 3% interest rate, but
Right.
like here come, I mean, at least insurance. Probably tax. We were talking about
Sure.
taxes a little bit earlier
Yeah.
too, but
Right.
we'll do a whole episode of taxes later.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time to move to South or West Texas.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
In past,
Yeah.
my clients would call me and say, "Hey, I've got my son or daughter is turning 16. What kind of car do you recommend?" And I would say,
Yeah.
"Well, for pricing, parts for American cars are cheaper than foreign cars, so buy American.
Okay.
And if you can buy something 4 or 5 years old, it's not so."
Yeah.
Yep.
But inevitably, they call me the next weekend with a new Honda Accord.
Okay.
So it's a
Nice.
foreign car. The price is
Brand new.
because they want the safety features, right? And I
Sure.
get it.
Yeah,
I've got
yeah, yeah.
kids, and that's our most important.
Yep.
And you want the protection of the stop for the
Yeah.
claims and all that for the wrecks, and but then you quote the price on the insurance. And honestly, now when they call me, a lot of times I give them the advice to let their kids Uber for a while
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I'll just give you my personal.
Yeah.
My son graduated high school,
Okay.
and I had the same rule with all my kids.
Yeah.
You get a used car. He got a 10-year-old pickup truck as his first vehicle.
Cool.
Drive that for 2 years, no tickets, accidents, and then
Yeah.
I'll buy you something when you go to college.
Cool.
again, because they're on the road. I don't want them breaking down on the side of the road coming back from college.
Yeah.
And so I bought him a new Toyota 4Runner. And it was expensive.
Yeah.
The insurance was about $150 a month, which was, then you add your college tuition and everything. It was expensive. His renewal this year, and he's got a clean record, no tickets, accidents, for that car is over $400 a month, just for his car.
Oh, wow.
So the insurance rates have just gone.
Yeah.
So when I say let your kid Uber for a while,
Yeah.
and again, we hate that, right? Because we want them to start getting that freedom and that independence.
Yep.
And you also want them to drive locally where if there's an issue, you can help them.
Yeah, you're there.
Versus
Right.
when they go off to college and they start driving, and now they're on the
Yes.
freeway going 70 miles an hour.
Yes.
And you really want them to learn, but you really need to have some conversations with your insurance agent and actually listen to them.
Yeah.
But if you are going to get a car, you've really got to look at something that's and have them run numbers on 3 or 4 different vehicles.
Yeah. That's
Just
good
so you can
advice.
kind of see the difference each of these vehicles cost.
Absolutely.
And again, I get it. They're kids, and statistically, again, they're going to have an accident. But look at that older vehicle that maybe you only pay a few $1,000s for, that you really don't have to have the full coverage on. And yes, you lose it. But I've got some other numbers I'll share later.
Cool.
With some specific examples of things that have happened to people. From some claims.
Yeah, from some claims.
Yeah. But we've kind of beaten this.
Well,
subject to
so
death.
that's auto. So talk a few minutes about like home insurance. So we have people that listen to our podcast that they don't know what that really is sometimes. We've got first-time home buyers.
Right.
So if you could just explain homeowners insurance a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I would also say too, they don't take it seriously. Like
Yeah,
right,
that
like
too.
when they're picking the realtor, when they're picking the mortgage company, they're real serious. They'll interview one or two. But insurance is a lot of times I see it's just like, okay, I'm going to call some guy off Google and just go for it, right? Like so, there's no intentionality behind it.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to bring some emphasis to this, especially with what's going on.
Right. So there's lots of moving parts with it. So first of all insurance policies are not the same. So you really have to know what you're buying.
Yeah.
You really need to talk to somebody you know. So if you've got somebody that can refer you to a agent, of course you can call me. I'd love to have you. But talk to an agent that knows what he's doing and that is reputable. Isn't depending on a paycheck next week to close the sale.
Yes, commission breath.
It's because it just that bottom number.
Yeah.
So, and again, when you get a quote for insurance, there's A, B, C, D, and E on the coverage, which is your house, your contents, your liability insurance, your all those things are listed on that first page.
Yeah.
But when you get your insurance policy in the mail or you get it in a PDF form, it's over 80 pages.
Yes.
So I don't need to also know what's on the first page.
Yep.
I need to know what's in these 80 pages.
Yeah.
Because the insurance kind of got deregulated back when the mold, and now you always say I want an apples to apples quote, and there's no apples to apples.
Really?
No two companies write the same policy in Texas.
Interesting.
So you have to know State Farm writes an HOW, Farmers writes a Farmers Family policy. Allstate offers a. Again, they've been through 4 different policies, so they've got 4 different ones. You have to kind of know what you're. So with myself, when I shop clients at renewal time, if you get a significant rate increase, we go back and shop it. But we go over the first page, and we talk about the price differences. But then I also have to know what's in the other 80 pages because there's all kinds of exclusions.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of sublimits for water losses, for things like that, and you have to know all those numbers.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest advice to people is when you call and get a quote, and you get 5 people to quote, first make sure all the things on the first page. The amount of house insurance, the amount of contents, your liability, your deductibles, those are all listed on the first page. Make sure those are apples to apples.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then ask, okay, tell me what's excluded. Tell me what limits are for X, Y, and Z. And those are the things you have to.
Yeah.
And I always tell people if you have sleeping issues, take your insurance policy out, put it on your nightstand. You won't make it past 3 pages.
Imagine, it's pretty dry.
It's a hard read. It's a hard read. So
That's awesome.
but call your insurance agent, have them walk you through those things.
Yeah.
And again, and get more than one quote. And when I give quotes in my office, I write for 20 different companies. And so I'll offer top 3, and then I'll go over the differences on those on this one may have higher this or that, and we'll kind of go through all those differences. So
for me, that makes me think of 2 different things. Because I think one, I would have a question about, like, Travis talked about the roofer we had last month. He talked about, if you get somebody knocking on your door, right, who's like, hey, can I sell your roof kind of thing. So how do you sift through agents?
Yeah.
Right. In your industry, how do you see through scams or people who, I think like you mentioned commission breath, right? Like people who just want the money. Yeah. So I think my first question is that, because this to me, in the age of just accepting the iPhone, agreement, right? Never reading any past anything, just accepting. I don't see a lot of consumers actually doing the work of reading those 80 pages, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so we've got to figure out ways for people to feel, more confident as they engage with folks to try and figure out, hey, how do I do this?
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's been something on my agent panels that I serve on, that we talk about.
Yeah.
And so for this younger generation buying home, they grew up with a phone in their hand.
Yeah.
They grew up, I want something that's going to be at my door this afternoon. It's going to be, and so they go and so they're big on auto quotes online.
Yeah.
And auto is kind of safe because the limit, as long as you're getting an apples to apples, so I'm covering $25,000 on a claim or I'm covering $100,000 on a claim. As long as you're getting the same limits, there's no 82 pages to sift through.
Yeah, cool.
It's all.
That's good to know.
It's all
I didn't
pretty
know that.
straight.
That's interesting.
That's good to know.
But when it comes to home, it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah.
And so statistically, what we see is the younger generation, they buy their insurance online. They're buying from a caveman or from a lizard, or they're buying from
That's awesome.
From a mayhem.
I love this.
They're buying from Flow. They're buying from,
Yeah.
and I get that. And that's fine. But when you get into home insurance, you really need to. That's when we see the big influx of customers coming to us from online.
Yeah.
Is when they buy a home.
Okay.
Because there's conversations that need to happen.
Yeah.
And some misconceptions are, my policy, my contents is everything inside the house.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah.
There's limits of your jewelry. There's limits. If say Travis has got a new vehicle or an old car that he's restoring.
Yeah.
Well, it was in my garage. It's covered on my contents.
Yeah.
Cars are not covered on the
Interesting.
policy.
Yeah.
So those are things you need to, flood insurance is the big one, right? Flood insurance is not covered on a home policy.
Right.
Some people think it is. And then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes a conversation needs to be had. We try to go look at all the homes we insure.
Yeah.
And if let's say you're not in a flood zone because you're not near a creek or a river or something, but yet you're on the bottom house on a hill.
As it goes down. Yep.
Well, when it rains, guess where that water's coming?
Yeah.
And they build them retaining walls and embankments, and it's all going to roll downhill. And if you're the bottom house, you may have an area that's going to flood, and so it's just a conversation. And if it's a preferred flood zone, so it's inexpensive, relatively. But those are conversations that need to be had.
Yeah.
There's just so many variables that go into home insurance that you really do need to have a conversation with somebody.
And understand the house.
And understand the house.
What you got going on with the house.
With type of roof, with age of roof.
Yeah.
There's just so many variables that go into it that aren't necessarily in an auto policy.
Yeah.
So auto policies, again, people buy online. It's pretty common. But then bundling is a big discount. So if you do have a home, try to move that car with the home, and get all those discounts.
Sweet.
It sounds like really find you an agent who has got the homeowner insurance piece down that offers you lots of flexibility and lots of information and advice.
Sure.
And then you can bring over the auto, but mainly shop your agent for your homeowner's insurance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, real quick before we get back to the show, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, we'd love to connect with you. We post a lot of content like this in case you miss an episode, along with more Fort Worth and surrounding suburb local insights and finds. You can find our team at the Christenberry Group on all social platforms, or you can connect with Jackson and I personally on our Facebook and our Instagram accounts. Just be prepared for lots of pictures of my grandson on either account. Now back to the show.
So let's talk differences of because you hear about this. So mortgage broker.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not mortgage broker. Excuse me, insurance broker.
Sure.
And somebody who can shop, or a big box maybe insurance.
Sure.
Way to say that.
Yep.
What's the differences? What do people need to know about choosing an agent like that?
Yeah. So I'm in a leads group with Jean.
Cool.
And she knows my tagline. And my
what's tagline?
tagline is,
I haven't heard this.
Yeah, I'm an insurance agent for my customer, not my company.
Cool.
Okay, because again, my father-in-law was a farmer's agent.
Yeah, cool.
And when farmers had the rate increase, they would just say, well, we had a rate increase. And that's just all it is.
Yeah.
To where I'm an agent for my customer.
That's good.
And when Progressive has a rate
that on a
increase,
shirt yet?
or no, I
that's
haven't,
good.
but
That's a hat, man. That's a hat all day.
That's a hat, for sure. But I use that in my email signature line. I use it other places. But where really, when there's something happens, I can go to my other carriers. And it kind of keeps my carriers honest too, right?
Yeah,
because
sure. Yeah.
If we go up on his rates 20% on all his customers, he's just going to move them to our competitors.
Yeah.
And so it kind of keeps them in check a little bit too. But I do have a lot of options for clients.
Yeah.
And again, I write for some of the big guys. I write for
That's just going to
Allstate.
ask. Can you write for?
I write for
Yeah,
Allstate.
okay.
I write for some of those companies. There are some like USAA that's just military.
Yeah.
But again, when you call them, all you're getting is their product and their price.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not going to give you competitor A, B, and C.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're going to call the big box guy, if that's who your parents have been with, and they recommend you've got a family friend, that's great.
Yeah.
But you might want to call a broker.
Sure.
And so I'm still an insurance agent. So even though I write for Kemper and Liberty Mutual and several others, when you have a claim, you call me. I still help you through the process. It's not like I'm a broker. I sell you and I don't talk to you
you're the
anymore.
guy. Yeah.
I'm still, and we want you to call me. We want you to call.
Yeah.
Please do not file a claim until you talk to your insurance agent.
Yeah.
And again, I got some examples of that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes wrong real fast.
Oh, real fast.
Real fast.
That's right. That's right.
And once you do it, you can't go back.
Can't go back. That's
Yeah.
right.
Once you do, you can't. So call your agent.
Yeah.
That's the big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, this is a lot of stuff that I don't think people know.
Yeah.
We're not taught this.
Well,
That's right.
The more and more I get into
Yeah.
this world of real estate, the more and more I just
Yeah.
realize how few things we are taught, unless your family taught you. I mean,
Right.
really,
That's
Yeah.
right.
or you had a mentor who
Yeah.
showed you these things, right? Like that's the
Absolutely.
only way you could have learned about these things.
Well, again, it's like your industry, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would I go sell my house by owner?
Yeah.
I might save a few dollars commission, but I'm not getting the insights, the knowledge that you have by doing it every day.
Right.
Well, and then we
taking the risk.
and we've
Taking
got
the risk, that's
stats that show that folks. I mean, even with a realtor commission, you're still going to lose money on the deal.
That's right.
Because you're not going to sell for as much with all the stuff. It's
Right.
it's shocking the things that people just it's crazy.
So it's funny. Sometimes I'll do with my clients a progressive challenge
Okay.
because you can go online and get a quote with progressive.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Okay, so call
Cool.
me. Let me.
I love this.
Let me quote your progressive policy.
Yeah, cool.
You go online and get a quote with progressive policy.
Cool.
Okay.
9 times out of 10,
Yeah.
I'm going to quote higher coverages,
Yeah.
higher limits,
Cool.
a better policy at less premium.
Cool.
Because I know where all the discounts are. I know the things that get you at a less expensive rate.
That's cool.
And again, they make it easy, right? We have this
do.
app on our phone
Yeah.
where you can file a claim. You can do it right on your phone. It's
Yeah.
real easy.
Yeah.
Talk to your insurance agent because yes, filing a claim, that's the best way to get a rate increase.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And depending on my specific, I was going to give you is I had a client last year who now has 2 teenage drivers.
Okay.
And kid in the parking lot hit a pole
Okay.
and turned in a claim without calling me.
Oh man. Oh
so
man.
the claim paid out $2,000. This was last May.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I just got his renewal for his auto insurance. His stuff is in my truck. That's where I'm going after this to speak with him. But his rate increase with his 4 vehicles, him and his wife and his 2 kids, was over $2,000 for this year.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And that's going to stay on his record
Yeah.
for 3 years.
For 3,
So that's going to
yeah.
cost him at least $6,000.
Wow.
All right. And again, I get it. We buy insurance, so if we have something happen.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at rates, which is my job to help you
Yeah.
maneuver through and,
Yeah.
and guide you, is if it's just you and your wife,
Yeah.
a $2,000 claim might not be that bad, but
Yeah.
with 2 teenage drivers.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going
Every
to
little bit's going to go.
real quick.
Yep.
And then heaven forbid they have another claim.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because then they're really going to see
Yeah.
Sure.
a rate increase.
And it's going to be on all of those
And
vehicles.
it's
Yeah.
the whole policy.
Yeah, which is something that, you wouldn't normally think about.
No.
Right, that's
no,
right. Yeah.
No.
Well,
You're
just
just
on
thinking
his
about that
car.
one,
No.
yeah.
Because they have access, right? Like you park behind your kid in the driveway and they
Absolutely.
need to run to the store and they hop in your car
Exactly.
real quick. And,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
I got prom coming up.
Yep.
Can I take the
Yeah.
Tesla?
Yeah, that's
or
right.
Whatever,
Yeah, whatever it
Right.
is.
with
Yeah.
a date instead of my junker.
Right.
So yeah, those
Yeah.
are the things that. So again, we love when they call us and we have conversations because we give them the here's about what it's going to cost. You got to kind of weigh that.
Yeah.
And again, there are some people that say, well, why do I buy insurance if I can't use it? And I said, well, you can use it. You have a policy. You can use it.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know what's going to happen
Yeah.
on the back
When
end.
you use
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So that you, and again, when you buy through a caveman,
Yeah.
and you're not getting
Right.
that advice.
You're not getting
Yeah.
the advice.
That's right.
The
And they
consultation.
actually want you to file claims.
Yeah.
This is why they
Yeah.
make the app on your phone,
Yeah.
which you can file a claim because the more claims you file, the higher
Sure.
the
higher
premium.
they can charge.
Yeah.
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 That makes sense. Well, the thing I've noticed about homeowners insurance for people that are new to that is they're shopping just the bottom line
That
number.
bottom.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Like I said, they look
Yeah.
at page 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that number.
It's just that number, right?
And then when they have a problem, they're like, I thought that was covered.
Yeah.
It's like, no, nobody talked to them about
It's
that.
the other 83 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why they need
Yeah.
to have an insurance agent and have
Absolutely.
those conversations.
I mean, that has lawyer quality almost to
Yes.
that. Like
For sure.
it's
The
like call your guy.
consultation.
I mean, call your
That's
guy.
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Man.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm from Arlington. I'm in the
Yeah.
area. My wife runs a school in Arlington, and I can't sell a substandard policy and for things not to be covered.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because word of mouth.
Your reputation.
Your reputation.
They might be able to find where you live
That's-
if you're in
yeah.
town.
That's all you have is your reputation, right?
Yes.
And so again, I might lose an occasional sale by
Yeah.
not having the cheapest price, but you're not going to beat me on coverage.
Sure.
And a lot of times my price will be better
Yeah.
with the coverage because
Yeah.
I know where the discounts are.
Well,
I know
if,
where
if, if you did the good consult and
That's
you
right.
did the advice, then
Yeah.
when they go through that year, they may come back to you for that reason.
correct.
Sure.
You're
That's
a good
correct.
consultant.
yeah, that's correct.
Well, that's a good thing. So, any tips for folks? Because this is actually in our question list. But any tips for folks when it comes time to shop insurance?
Yeah. So
Any tips at that time of the year?
So the best times to shop your insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, 90% of the people shop their insurance after they filed a claim and they get their rate increase.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, totally.
All my rates went up.
It's caused me a problem.
I'm gonna call.
Yes.
Worst time to shop your
Yeah.
insurance because, like, let's say for auto insurance,
Yeah.
Progressive, they've got it down like you can't believe. If I move from one zip code in Arlington to another zip code in Arlington, it can trigger a rate increase or a decrease based on the amount of cars in that zip code. So it's
Really?
it's that finite.
Wow, okay.
More typically, with home insurance, it's down to the city.
Okay.
Because they have a fire protection code where the fire department responds. So typically in all of Arlington, it's the same price.
Yeah.
But it can vary by zip code in auto insurance. And people don't realize, my wife teaches a school, and
Yeah.
I keep asking to let me teach a
Yeah,
class.
yeah, totally.
So
yeah.
great.
But she won't let me get in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, they credit.
Yeah.
Credit is huge.
Yes.
Okay.
So
This is a little known fact.
little known
I didn't
facts.
find this out till about 5 years ago.
Okay, so I can quote, you give me an address.
Okay.
Give me an address. And I will go back and take 5 people that I know, and I will shop the insurance on that same house.
Okay.
It's the same roof. It's the same
Everything,
plumbing
yeah.
pipes. It's the same electrical. But I can get 3 completely different prices. And from worst credit to bad credit or good credit, it can be as low, let's say a $250,000 house.
Uh-huh.
It might be as low as, and this is a new home.
Yep.
It could be $1,000
Okay.
to where it could be $8,000.
Wow.
That's how much variance there is
Wow.
based on credit.
And just to be clear, 1,000 being good credit, correct?
Good- yeah, that's
8,000,
right.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. You get a 800 score.
Yeah.
It could be $1,000.
Got
You get a 620.
Okay.
It could be 8,000.
Wow.
So that big of a difference.
Okay.
So the best time, honestly, is when you've increased that credit score. So I use apps like Credit Karma.
Yeah, sure.
I use things
Yeah.
like that. I'm sure y'all do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as you're working on your credit journey and you pay something off and you notice it's significant, wait about a month for it to catch up to the insurance companies. Best time to shop your
Oh,
insurance.
cool. Okay.
Because it can make
Yeah.
a huge difference just on credit score.
Yeah.
That's great
so
advice.
when you pay something off. So those are great. A lot of times an insurance company will give you a huge discount when you purchase a home. Because they know you just had an inspection, they've just looked at the roof.
Yeah.
And that discount is built in, and like with some companies, it drops off the very next year. So it's an automatic 20% increase just because that discount
Yeah.
fell off. Well, then they call me to shop the insurance, right? Well, a lot of home buyers, in my experience, first thing they do when they buy a house is they go buy some furniture.
How much stuff? Yeah, that's
They
right.
go to Home Depot and
You're
buy
right.
that new zero-turn lawnmower.
Yes.
They've hit all their credit cards,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now they call me and shop me, and the rate's higher
Yeah.
because it's not the best time to shop. So
Yeah.
really work on your credit. That's a great
Cool.
time. If you have had a claim, most companies charge 3 years on that claim.
Okay.
So a lot of times I'll do that internally. If somebody calls me for a quote and their kid had an accident,
Yeah.
a year and a half ago, I'll put that on my tickler file.
Cool.
For
Tickler
18,
file.
18 months.
Yeah.
I'm old school, Travis.
That's awesome.
I'm old school. You probably entered into an app of some kind. I've got a calendar that I go mark the date.
That's
and
amazing.
so I'll go ahead and quote that insurance.
Yes.
When that accident falls off.
Yeah.
Because let's say you have let's say your policy renews January, but you have an accident in May,
Yeah.
and that policy doesn't renew for a year. You won't get the rate increase for the till that next year.
Yeah.
But when that claim comes off in May, I've got an opportunity to get you a better quote in May, June, July before your insurance carrier drops that accident from its
Interesting.
rate.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
Okay.
again, great things about having an insurance agent, right? Because
Totally.
we know all the tricks,
Yeah.
we know
Yeah.
all the,
Yeah.
we know where all the little tweaks are. So,
Absolutely.
So little things like that.
Very cool.
They make big differences.
Huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
a claim drops
Yeah.
off is a great time to shop.
Yeah.
Once you've increased your credit score,
Okay.
great time for things to drop
Okay.
off. And let's say you've done some work to your house, and let's say you put a new roof on. That's the biggest discount in Texas.
Oh, wow.
Is a new roof.
Cool.
So that's part of our problem with our insurance company, right?
Yeah.
Is we have these huge roof claims,
Yeah.
and then we incentivize people
Yes.
almost
Yes.
because it's cheaper insurance if I
Yeah.
get a new roof.
Yeah.
But if you put a new roof on a home, and again, have a conversation with your insurance agent,
Yeah, totally.
because the type of roof you put on your home
Yeah.
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. You can get a class 2, 3, or 4 hail resistive, which you might spend $800, $1,500 more.
It's not that much. Yeah.
But that discount
Yeah.
for that roof stays on for the next 20 years.
We had
Yeah.
we sold a property in Itasca that had like I don't remember the type of roof it was, but it was
Yeah.
very, very
It's still.
and it gave they like raved about their insurance discount because
Right.
of the quality of the roof and all the
Yeah.
stuff they're getting.
Right. Right.
So they were
Yeah.
just ecstatic about it.
Yeah.
Sure,
it was a big
sure.
deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those are some great things you can do to
That's
to
that's
help-
great
to help
advice.
offset. Mhm.
Yeah. That very few people know.
The other thing I would say is like you want to keep claims off your policy at all costs.
Okay.
So what I see a lot of times when people send me their parents, they have a $500 deductible, and that's great. And a lot of those are grandfathered, and you can't get those anymore.
Sure.
But you pay extra premium to carry a low deductible,
Okay.
and then they'll say they're claim free for 10
Got
years.
it.
So you've been paying extra premium for
Yeah.
10 years to have that low deductible.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
And honestly, if they were to call me and say, I've got a $700 issue and I've only got a $500 deductible, I would tell them not to turn the claim in.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're going to have a rate increase, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so things I would recommend people is when you're doing things around the house, have insurance in mind. And again, I'm
Cool.
an insurance geek, right?
Yeah.
I walk into a Trail Dust Steakhouse and all I see is the slide, and I think about the liability from the kids.
Awesome.
Sure.
My wife's like, turn it off. Turn it
That's
off.
amazing.
Yeah. So, but little things like when you're replacing your flooring, okay?
That's a big one.
It's a big one. Okay. So again, I get it. These wood floors,
Yeah. Yeah, right.
they are awesome.
Yeah.
But you can. There's a laminate that you can get
Yep.
that these days looks as good. And I have the old wood floors,
Yeah.
and I would never replace them.
Yeah.
Because they're so temperamental. You can't move a piece of furniture without a
Yes.
scratch. And,
Yes.
But these new floors, I've got them in my office. They're tile, but they look like wood.
Yep.
And I get more compliments on my office floors than I
Yeah.
do on my home floors.
Nice.
Yeah.
But we all have a dishwasher. We all have a washing machine. We all have an ice line running to our refrigerator.
Yeah, sure.
And those are all leaks. Those are all claims.
potential. Yep.
Water heaters, right? So they're all, the water is, roof, wind, hail, that's your number one claim
Sure.
in insurance. But your number two is water.
Yeah.
And so I would say when you make improvements to your home, have insurance in mind, meaning that if I put a laminate floor in and I go out to dinner with my wife and I
Yeah.
come home and the dishwasher has kept running continuously and my home is full of water,
Yeah.
I turn the water off, I get the mop bucket out
Yeah.
on the tile floor,
Yeah.
I mop it up,
You're done.
and I'm good.
You're done. Yep.
Yeah.
The wood floors,
Yep.
I've got to have a restoration company come out.
Absolutely.
We've got to dry them. Now
Yep.
we've got to replace them.
Yeah.
Now I've got a $70,000 claim
Yeah.
on these hand scraped hardwood floors that I could have just swiped up.
Yep.
A water heater is a great example. So a water heater, and when you go to buy a water heater, you'll see an 8-year warranty,
Yep.
10-year warranty. The more you spend, the higher. But about 10 years is all you're going to get. It's a metal tube
Yep.
filled with water sitting in your house.
Right.
And it's not a question of if it's going to leak.
Yeah.
It's when.
It's a question of
Yeah.
when it's going to
Awesome.
leak,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's going to leak. So tankless water heaters. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no tank. It's not going to
Yeah.
leak.
You don't have all that water coming
The
into your house.
filament will quit working. It will quit heating your water, but you're not going to have the leak.
Right.
And so again, mitigate your claims.
Yeah.
So little things like that. Your roofs when you replace them, but a hail-resistant roof, it's a huge discount. But think about all of those little things that will help you keep claims
Yeah.
off of your policy.
Yeah. That's good advice.
Those are things that I really recommend. And then again, having an insurance agent,
Yeah.
people see contents,
Yes.
and you hear all kinds of misconceptions. Oh, I have contents, and my diamond ring was in my house and it
Yeah.
was lost. Well,
Yeah.
there's limits on jewelry.
Yeah.
There's like
Yep.
we were talking earlier, Jackson and I were about a vehicle.
Yeah.
I'm working in the garage.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
a vehicle's not covered on your home policy, even though it's inside the garage.
Yep.
Yeah.
And people do that all the time. They call me and say, I need to cancel the insurance. It's not running right now.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Well, if you cancel your comprehensive and there's a fire,
Yep.
you have no coverage on the car.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Period.
Yep. Exactly.
just,
Yeah.
That'll do
The
it.
things I think about are, toys like jet skis and
Yes.
four-wheelers
Right.
and then jewelry and pianos and
Correct.
guns and things like that.
Another
yeah.
one's collections.
Yeah.
Yeah, art.
Oh, sure.
All
I've
that.
got a huge baseball
Do
collection.
you really? Cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So I started collecting baseball cards in high
Cool.
school.
Oh, how
Yeah.
And I
cool.
buy a full set every year.
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Cool.
But I've got them in a safe,
Yeah.
a fireproof safe,
Yeah.
because they're worth more now. But my baseball card collection there's a limit on that on my policy, Some people have stamp collections.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
We see a lot of gun collections.
Yeah.
We're Texas, right? Everybody's got a gun.
Yep. That's
right.
So some people have 100 guns.
Yeah.
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 So there are limits on some of those
Yep.
things. And so again, have conversations with your agent.
Yep.
Antique trains. It's just amazing the things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
man.
And then we can just talk about women's shoes and purses.
Oh,
right?
100%.
That'll lead your
Well,
That's a
Yeah.
collection.
Yeah.
That's a collection.
That'll eat your contents
Yeah.
real quick.
That's thousands.
That's thousands of
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah.
Right. So
Oh, yeah.
those are some things you need to have conversations with
Interesting.
your. And then home inventory is a big one.
Yeah.
So you have contents coverage on your policy.
Yeah.
And it's usually percentage of your home. So
Yeah.
it's 50, 60%. So if you've got a $500,000 home, you've got about $250,000 with the contents coverage.
Okay.
That's an up to limit.
Yeah.
You still have to prove what you have.
Yeah.
So I always say every year, I try to do one at Christmas time. I'm off work for a couple of days. I've got the camera out. I got a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah.
And just to go through the house, open up the kitchen cabinets, go out into the garage, open
Pictures.
up the cabinet, and just shoot a video. I can walk through my house in 5 minutes. It saves to the cloud.
Yep.
To where if my phone's burn up,
Yeah.
I've still
You're
got
fine.
reference to it.
That's
so
smart.
do a home inventory once
Yeah.
a year, once for a couple of years.
Yeah.
If you spend 2 or 3 years since you've done it, you can probably find the receipts of stuff you bought in the last couple of
Yeah.
years, but you can't find a receipt for something you bought 15 years
True.
ago.
Well, sure. Yeah.
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 The piano, the clock.
Yeah, I do that.
You know, some of the stuff that you have.
Right.
So,
Man.
once a year, go and do a home inventory.
That's a great tip. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
smart.
That's
Yep.
really good.
You bet.
Well, you brought some real good value
Man,
today.
this is
Well,
awesome.
good. I hope I
Yeah.
help some people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we wrap, I just want to know, what do you see? Because we're talking about this a little bit.
Sure.
What do you see coming down the pipe? Because we have all these
Yeah.
rates increasing.
is
We have
Kevin's?
all this kind of disarray.
So again, I
What do
write
you
with
see?
20 companies, and I have 20 representatives that come in my office all the time,
Yep.
talking to me about things
Here's
with
what's
their,
happening.
with their company,
Yeah.
with other companies. And I really think that home insurance, property insurance,
Yeah.
especially in these high concentrated claim areas
Yeah.
where we have all the hail, where we
Yeah.
have everything, what we're going to start seeing is people taking on more risk themselves.
Okay.
It's just like health insurance, right?
Right.
We have health insurance,
Yep.
but now we've gone to these big deductibles,
Right.
and we pay the little stuff out of pocket.
Huh.
You go to the doctor, you pay it out of pocket.
Yeah, sure.
You go to, so traditionally, we've had a 1% deductible on homes. So for your wind and hail, it's a 1%.
Yeah.
So 1%, meaning if you've got a $250,000 home, the first $2,500 are yours.
Okay.
Anything over that, the insurance company
Sure.
pay for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm seeing across the country the statistics of people self-insuring that are canceling their home insurance because it's gotten so expensive. I do not recommend that.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 Let's talk about a 5% deductible. Let's
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
let's talk about some high deductibles
Yeah.
to get that premium way down.
Yeah.
But you're taking on more risk yourself.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I'm seeing, even on cars now. So I'm officially old, right? Because I remember when I first bought my first brand new pickup truck.
Yeah.
My dad looking at me and saying, "That's more than I bought my first house
House,
for."
yep, yep.
And now I have people call me all the time with
Yep.
their new Escalade
Yep.
or Audi.
Yep.
That's more than the first house I paid
Yep.
for.
Yep.
And so traditionally, people on their auto insurance have carried a $250 or $500 deductible.
Right.
And what I'm seeing in those is we're carrying $2,500,
Oh, really?
$5,000.
Wow,
Okay.
really?
Like,
Really?
I'm a good driver. Why is my
Yeah.
rate so high? Well,
Yeah.
if you want to bet on yourself,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
you can raise that deductible.
Yeah.
The chances of you having a claim. And again, that's if you can afford
Right.
that if it were to happen.
If you have the
Some
cash,
people
yeah.
don't have that set
Sure.
aside or,
Yeah.
or can't.
Yeah.
But again,
But that's what you see coming.
so,
Yeah.
so I'm seeing
Yeah.
more self-insurance to
Yeah.
help lower premiums.
Uh-huh.
So I'm seeing higher deductibles coming down the pike.
Okay.
I'm even seeing some companies probably going to where they exclude
Yeah. Really.
some things.
Really.
Hmm.
Wow.
And again, just because
Yeah.
you've seen what's happening in Florida with
It's-
$16,000
It's the
premiums.
numbers.
Yeah.
You can't sustain that.
Yeah.
Well, would that be almost like, I would wonder, because flood insurance is a whole separate
Sure,
policy, right?
sure,
Like,
right.
so I would wonder if there's now going to be tornado policies and hurricane policies.
Yeah.
and specific
So
things like
what
that.
I see is that's really catastrophic,
Yeah.
right? You get a
Yeah.
big Category 5
Yeah.
tornado come through.
Yeah,
it wipes out
everything,
blocks. It
yeah.
wipes out everything.
Yeah.
Hailstorm is going to hit the roof.
Yeah.
So the most we're talking about a hailstorm is just the roof.
Yeah.
Which is expensive.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing is I'm seeing on the industry is, we're building these houses now that are just huge.
Uh-huh.
And some of these houses have 6 different levels of that roof.
Yep.
And where average roof claim years ago was, $10,000, $15,000.
Yeah.
It's not unusual to see a $50,000 to $75,000.
But for something like that,
roof
sure.
claim come
Heck
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
those big
Yeah.
ranch style
Yes.
homes with a lot of
Multi-level.
roof line,
Yep.
we can see those really escalate. So what I'm seeing
Interesting.
is probably people taking on more risk themselves, carrying a higher deductible to help offset those premiums. Because the more risk you take, the lower that premium. Just like your health insurance.
Yeah.
If you carry a $5,000 or a $10,000 deductible, something were to happen, those premiums really start coming down.
Yeah.
We need like a HSA for
Right.
Yeah,
for
That's
your
right.
homeowners
well,
insurance.
it's funny you mentioned
Yeah.
that. We did a roundtable with an insurance company a while back, and I brought that up.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how about an RSA, a roof savings account,
There you go.
to where you save $1,000 on your premium this
Yeah.
year, but you put that money into an account.
Yeah.
That way, when you do have a hailstorm,
Yeah.
and another couple of advice on hailstorms when you get them,
Which you will.
which you will,
Yeah,
right?
which you will.
It's time.
Yeah.
But you've got time. I've probably in 25 years, I've had one roof leaking from hail that didn't get fixed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So it does degrade your shingle,
Yep.
but it's not going to do it overnight.
Yeah, sure.
So when you get the hailstorm coming in, guess what the price of shingles does
Oh,
in an area?
sure.
It shoots through the roof. So
Yeah.
the price to replace that
interesting.
roof at that time
Yeah.
is really expensive.
Sure.
If you wait 6 months, if you can wait till winter,
Yeah.
when
they're low,
when
yeah.
they're low,
Yeah.
when low is when
How
you can get a
interesting.
better quote and you can get a better price on that roof.
Yeah, that's good.
Just because supply is available.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supply and demand. Yeah,
Right.
that's what it is.
So,
Wow.
labor costs come down a little
Sure.
bit. So and then also if you get a hit in hail in March,
Yeah.
and you go put a new roof on, you might get hit in June.
True.
Sure.
We've seen that.
And,
Yeah,
and-
big time.
And
Yeah.
people call me and they say, "Well, I've already met my deductible this year." Well, it doesn't work that way
Yeah.
in property insurance. It's a per occurrence deductible.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
not for annual year.
It's not like medical.
It's not like medical. So
Yeah.
it's a per occurrence. So don't put it on that same hail season for
Yeah.
sure. Wait till fall. Wait till
That's
winter.
very good
Wait till
advice.
some prices come down.
Because you feel like you need to get it done right now.
Sure.
If I don't get it done now, I'm going to be at the end of the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the roofers going to
Yeah.
leave town.
End
Yeah.
of the line. Well, if you're using a roofer that's leaving town,
Let him go.
you're using the wrong roofer. Those guys that come
Okay.
knock on the door,
Right.
unless they're from the area,
Right.
don't use those guys. But but use somebody on the roof because
Yeah.
again, it may not rain for 6 months in Texas.
Yeah.
And then when it does rain and the roof leaks because it wasn't put on properly,
Yep.
they've left town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
again, use a
Oh, yeah.
local company.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Again, your insurance agent is a great person to refer you to people.
Great advisor, too.
Because we
Yeah.
talk to insurance, we talk to roofing companies, we
Right.
talk to plumbers.
Yeah.
We have people we refer you to that aren't going to gouge you,
Yeah.
that are going to help you, and we'll have the same conversations of, we pay this, you can maybe not turning your insurance company, I can get you a cheaper
sure.
price.
Right.
Here's at least if nothing else, here's how to handle this.
That's
best.
right.
Or here are
Yeah.
your options.
That's
at
correct.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's some great options
That's
for you.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hope
I
you
love
know
it.
that.
I love it.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, very good advice.
Hope I help some people.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
big
like
time.
20 different ways.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's really good to know.
Yeah.
This,
And don't forget my sleeping advice. Pull that insurance
That's
policy
right.
out. Just put it on your
And just
nightstand.
lull
No Ambien
yourself to
needed.
sleep.
If you're one of those
Yeah.
like me that wakes up at 2 or 3 in the morning and can't go back to sleep,
Start reading.
start reading.
Uh-huh.
You'll be out.
That'll work.
That's right.
Oh my
Great.
Well, that's great. Well, tell the people where they can find
Yeah.
you, where they can
Yeah,
reach
you bet.
you.
So
tell them
I'm
about that.
local. You can Google search me, but my name is Shane Farrell. My website is shane@agentshane.com.
Okay.
So Shane, Shane. So Shane@agentshane.com.
Cool.
And again, I've represent a lot of companies
Yeah.
in shop you, and I'll at least help you make an informed decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And at
Yeah.
least then you've got the knowledge. You can kind of go. from
Yeah.
there. So,
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Love to
Yeah.
talk to him.
Thank
You
you.
can also get a hold of Gene, and Gene has my number.
Yep.
So
And we recommend Shane and
Yep.
use him regularly.
appreciate that.
So,
Appreciate that.
Yeah. My mom just called you this morning, actually.
Yeah. You have time for one more quick story?
Yeah, come on, please.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
this is I tell this story a lot on Gene's mom,
Okay.
your grandmother.
Yes. Granny, come on now.
She
Granny.
has a lake house,
Yes.
right? And it's out where I couldn't get to it to inspect it,
Uh-huh.
and so I had her send me some pictures. And again, I'm an insurance geek, so I see all the little small
Yep.
things. Another reason
Oh.
you want to use an insurance carrier, right? Or
That
agent.
property is
Yeah.
unique.
Because had she gone online and bought a policy, they would have sent out their inspector.
Yep.
Right.
And when she sent me the picture along the back of the house,
Yep.
again, it's a lake, I get it.
Yep.
So she's got her gas cans for the boat
Yep.
up against the house.
Yep.
She's got her propane tanks
Yep.
up against the house,
Yep.
stacked next to the firewood
Yep.
up against the house.
Right next to the fridge.
Fire,
Yep.
fire, fire.
Yep.
I'm like, I cannot send these pictures in. So we had to get all that stuff moved away from the house. We took new pictures.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
so again,
That's
another
amazing.
reason you want to call your insurance
That's
agent
amazing.
and not the company, because at least I'll give you those heads up.
That's
that
right.
Oh,
The insurance
man.
company just sends you a cancellation. We're not going to write you.
Yeah. Yeah, they would have gotten rid of her.
They would have said, Gene, find somebody.
That's so fun, man.
Yeah. So
Go Granny. My
Yeah,
gosh.
I know.
That's
Correct me
awesome.
up. Correct me up.
How amazing.
Thank you.
you
Thank you,
bet.
Shane.
You bet.
We appreciate you being on our podcast today.
Thanks for having
And yeah, feel free to what are we going to say today? Like us, follow us.
Oh,
find us.
Are you doing the spiel now? This is awesome. Look at this. She's learning. This is
You working on
awesome.
the tagline?
Oh
working
my
on the
gosh,
tagline.
that's
Okay.
awesome.
I'm working on it.
You work in the podcast.
So
Great.
yeah, we're trying.
Yeah. We'll do all the things that help us with the algorithm. It's always appreciated. But man, folks, just go check out Shane, and just if nothing else, use this information. This
Yeah.
is something that needs to be used.
Yeah.
So that's why we do this. So
Yeah.
appreciate you watching today. Hope you join us next week for home. Oh, I almost said home. Sweet Homecast.
wrong one.
Our old one. Excuse me. Welcome home, Fort Worth.
There you go.
We'll see y'all soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for watching the podcast today. If this has been valuable for you at all, we sure could use your help getting the word out to more people. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow and consider taking just maybe 2 minutes to leave us a review. Both do wonders for our show with the algorithm, and on both platforms, all you gotta do, head over to our show page. On Spotify, hit 3 dots and select rate. And on Apple, all you gotta do is just scroll down to the show and say leave a review. So just click that. If you're seeing this on Facebook or Instagram, a like or comment puts all the good vibes out in the algorithm for us. And on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we post a new episode. Join us again next week for more Fort Worth housing news and updates. Until then, y'all have a great week.